What's funny to me is that I was planning on talking about 4 books that were very pivotal for me, that led me to falling in love with toy making and creating toy making magic. But just a few minutes ago, I just remembered a couple other moments. I started to connect the dots. So I'm going to go all the way back to when I was pregnant with my first child. So I had just signed up for Taproot magazine, maybe you've heard of it, and I had signed up for the very first issues. This is issue number issue number 2. And I remember I was terrified, petrified about the thought of giving birth, and I didn't even want to talk about it. I was like pregnant, and I would shut down any conversation about giving birth and having to go to a hospital. I was really scared about the experience of giving birth in a hospital. And so I had no idea what was going to be in this issue. And I remember turning to this page. It gives me chills all over just seeing it again. This beautiful picture of Ina May Gaskin, and reading these words: "Remember this, for it is as true gets. Your body is not a lemon." And I just, oh my gosh, I'm just having chills running through my body so intensely. It was such a moment for me. I was like, I just instantly knew what she meant, that we can trust our bodies. And I started to separate my fear from giving birth from hospitals. And after reading this beautiful article, I got her book, Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. Alice Walker, author of The Color Purple, said, "Few books have the power to improve the life of everyone on the planet. This one does." And I couldn't agree more. This book is filled with Ina May's wisdom and lots of birth stories. This book took me from a place of total fear and terror to a place of trust and anticipation of giving birth. And I was able to, thanks to this book, have a very positive home birth experience with the help of a midwife and a doula. And I feel like this book was the beginning of a journey. And I wanted to keep learning from other people on this journey. And I don't remember what exactly led me to this next book, but it was You Are Your Child's First Teacher. And I remember reading this when my son was maybe 3 months old. I remember reading it on a Kindle with him in the carrier. I would walk to help him have a nap, and I would read, and I remember just highlighting, like nonstop highlighting everything. And that book was so exciting. It was just like, yes, yes, yes. I hadn't thought about any of these things before, and so it was really nourishing. What's sort of funny to me is that a lot of the book is about when your kids are a little bit older, and I was feeling kind of impatient about my child growing up and reaching these older ages so that I could do these things they were talking about. And because I noticed that in myself, I was like, I actually want to step away from this book. It doesn't feel like the best moment for me. It's kind of keeping me from being present in this moment here right now. So for some reason, I kind of disconnected from a lot of those thoughts for a while. And it wasn't until a few years later when I came across this next book, First Steps on the Journey at Home with Children Aged 3 to 6 by Donna Simmons. And this book was hugely pivotal for me because at the time I was feeling like motherhood was a bit of a slog. Every day was just snacks and naps and trying to wonder how to get through the day. There was a lot of Sesame Street involved. And I had a little Etsy business at the time, and I was always, trying to find time for that. And our days didn't have any structure, not very much meaning. And I loved being a mom, and I loved being able to stay home with them, but I just felt so lost and kind of bored and maybe kind of sorry for myself about how hard it was to be a mom, and I wasn't enjoying it very much. And this book gave me everything I needed to totally shift my perspective. And it talked all about how to structure your day or how to structure your week and how to, celebrate the seasons, and so much practical everyday advice. It was like my guidebook, my manual, and it was so transformational for me. And I started to try to make really big changes. And one of the things that excited me the most was her recommendations for toys and what toys to provide. And it wasn't talking about making the toys. She was just giving some suggestions for what type of toys to provide. And I just felt so lit up and excited about that. And I felt like this book helped me shift the dynamics in our home, and I felt like my kids were happier and I was happier, and I woke up every day with a sense of purpose and a plan of what we were going to do. All very simple things, but with beauty and intention, and I just couldn't recommend this book enough. For me, it was so huge. This book is a really easy read. It's divided into short sections. It covers so many topics. There's even some stories in here that you could tell or songs you could sing, and recommended reading, some books she recommends. And one of those is the next book I want to talk about, Beyond the Rainbow Bridge, Nourishing Our Children from Birth to 7 by Barbara J. Patterson and Pamela Bradley. This book is also a really easy read, full of practical advice and some really beautiful ideas, such as how to craft a birthday story to tell your child on the day of their birthday, some examples of a schedule, how to set up a nice daily rhythm and that sort of thing. And this book talked about making toys, and that really intrigued me, that thought of making handmade toys. There's a few instructions for just a few simple toys, and that really got me wanting to find more information about making toys. Which leads me to the last two books that I want to talk about, Creative Play for Your Baby and Creative Play for Your Toddler by Christopher Clowder and Johnny Nickel. And I'm getting chills right now just thinking about this moment. So I checked out at the time I got these at the library. I've since bought my own copies, and I remember I had to order them. They weren't at the branch. So they called me to let me know they had arrived, and I go pick them up, and I couldn't even wait to go home to look at them. I just sat on a bench right outside the door, and I started flipping through them, and I felt like my whole body was like on fire. I could not understand why I was so excited, but I just felt so lit up. Every page was just like, I have to do this. I have to make toys. This is amazing. And at the time, I still had my Etsy business. I was selling like quilted items and bags. And I thought, gosh, does this mean I should sell handmade toys in my Etsy shop? But that didn't light me up. I noticed that sort of fiery feeling kind of left my body when I had that thought. And I said, no, I don't think that's it. And I thought, could I just be this excited about making toys for my kids? And somehow that also didn't ring true. I thought, I have no idea why I'm so excited, but I'm just gonna follow this feeling and start making some projects from these books. And the first project I started making was this doll, and I was really enjoying it, but also struggling. I was finding it really challenging to, my brain doesn't work well looking at a picture or an illustration and reading words. I start to get kind of like panicky and think I don't understand, I think I'm doing it wrong, and I wasn't really enjoying the experience very much, but I was, still enjoying making toys, or making this doll, I should say, and feeling excited about making more projects afterwards. And while I was working on it, or during that time period, there's one day I was just brushing my hair in the bathroom, and it just kind of hit me all of a sudden, like, I'm gonna make tutorials and teach people how to make toys. Now, I had never had that thought before. I'd never taught any crafting class. I felt confident doing, my Etsy shop projects, but I hadn't done hardly any hand sewing. So it was just sort of a weird thought, like, why am I thinking this if I don't have any experience? But I don't know, it just felt so, the moment was crazy. And I was just feeling, again, the full body chills. And my husband had cameras already because he was working as a videographer, and I thought, and so I reached out to the authors. I looked, I Googled their names, Christopher Clowder and Johnny Nickel, and I said, I love your books so much. I had this idea to create video tutorials to teach people how to make these toys, but I don't know how to make toys, so I wanted to ask your permission if I could make video tutorials of the projects in your books. And I thought, gosh, I probably have the wrong email address. It's probably not an accurate one, whatever I found online, and they're probably never going to see my email. And if they do, they'll probably never answer me. But they actually responded the very next day, and they gave me their blessing, and they said, we just want more people to make toys. Or I don't remember their exact words, but they gave me their blessing, and I was just amazed and so excited and so grateful that they were willing to be so generous and say yes to me without knowing anything about me. And that is how it all began. And the first tutorial I made for Toy Making Magic was the fishing set, which is a project from their book. And even though I had never taught before, and I had just finished learning how to do the blanket stitch myself, I felt confident that if I could just show every single step and show a really clear angle and talk you through every single step, that it would be helpful. And that is what I have continued to do, project after project. I love teaching and making it so clear, and I love saving us all from the frustrations of trying to follow written instructions. Some people like it, and that's great, but I knew that there would be lots of people out there like me who were struggling a ton trying to follow written instructions. It's so nice to be able to see exactly how to do something and to know how to fix mistakes and how to get through challenging moments, and that is my specialty. That's what I love to do, and I'm so grateful. It's so emotional thinking back, connecting all the dots of what led me here, and thinking all the way back to Ina May Gaskin when I was pregnant. It's so, life's funny, right? We don't always connect the dots until much later, and I literally just connected the dots like an hour ago. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for joining me on this little journey of connecting the dots. And I want to mention that I have a workshop coming up that I think you'll want to be at. I'm going to be sharing all the practical advice about making toys. I'm going to be talking about what materials you'll need, where to buy them, what are the best toys to make first, and a really big question is, am I actually going to have time to make all the toys I'm dreaming of? So I'm so excited to share all of this with you. I pack all of this information into a short 30-minute Zoom workshop because I know you're a busy mama and you don't have time to join me for an hour or 2 hours. So I promise it's very valuable. You'll get a lot out of it, and it's live. So we're going to be interacting. You can ask me any questions you have if you stick around to the end. I always do a live Q&A. So there'll be a link in the description. Sign up, and I look forward to seeing you there.